With the recent announcement of the Nissan Ariya, we know the Japanese automaker Nissan is taking the electrification route seriously. And that will be the focus of today's video as we dive deep into the updated Nismo Leaf. Wait, Kurt, did you just say Nismo Leaf? Did I stutter? And we'll discuss the possibilities of a hybrid electric Nissan 400Z as well. Heresy! Welcome back, Luxurious Fleet. If you're new to the channel, my name is Kirk. I'm Kirk too. And we cover Japanese autos. Subscribe, hit the bell icon so you won't miss any of my upcoming coverage on Japanese EV auto news in the future. And before we jump into this updated Nismo Leaf, we need to dust on its history real quick, as I'm sure there will be a few of us that didn't know anything about it before today. The original Leaf Nismo RC, no, not radio controlled, but RC stands for Racing Competition. But the Nismo Leaf made headlines when it debuted in 2011 as a first ever zero emission racing car. It boasted peak performance using the Leaf's regular power unit, and it only had a top speed of 93 miles an hour and a 0 to 63 or 100 kilometers per hour in 6.85 seconds. A lot of show and a little go for this first Nismo Leaf in 2011, but a second Nismo Leaf RC debuted at the end of 2018, this time with real performance. It had twin motors, all-wheel drive, 322 horsepower, and a massive 372 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds, twice as fast a 0 to 60 than the previous one. Think of this Nismo Leaf as a test mule to the upcoming Nissan Ariya with up to 389 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. Now you might be thinking, Kirk, these are race cars. Is there a street legal Nismo Leaf? And the answer is yes, if you're in Japan. However, it's not much more than a cooler looking standard Leaf with wings and cooler wheels. It has the same powertrain as the high range or higher capacity Leaf, but Nissan just updated it for 2021, so let's see if they made some more tempting upgrades to it. Okay, we're at the Chinese Yahoo website where they're breaking this news for us today. Of course, we see an updated front and rear bumper, side skirts, tail, etc. And this is supposed to increase downforce and optimize aerodynamics by reducing the coefficient of drag. We get these cool 18-inch lightweight aluminum ring design, and it's supposed to have low wind resistance. I kind of like the front end design of it. I definitely think it's more sporty than obviously the current offerings of the Leaf that we see here in the States. The rear diffuser looks pretty solid to me. Side skirts, everyone loves side skirts, right? No one cares about the stripe on the mirror. Now the interior gets some upgrades. It's replaced with 3 styles of Alcantara leather with a flat bottom steering wheel. You get all black Alcantara leather seats, carbon fiber trim, and you get the iconic red color matching the aluminum trim to further increase the sporty style. And new for 2020, you guys can get new Recaro seats with leather, and then there's also a 9-inch touchscreen for the sat nav that's been an upgrade. Look how aggressive this power button is. Carbon fiber, alien shift knob, fabric doors. And man, those Recaro seats look pretty sick. Look how tall they are. So if you guys have a cone head, these Recaro seats will keep your head in place. I mean, shoot. Guys, should I get my computer chair? Do they make Recaro computer chairs? Because that is what I want to sit in on a daily. Now, this wheel, while it looks great, this is Alcantara where your hands go. I don't know if you guys seen how Alcantara wears if your hands or you're sitting on it. It doesn't wear great in my experience. That is not going to hold up well after about a year or so. I would have hoped that they just had all leather on that steering wheel, but it looks cool. It'll feel good, but man, who wants, I mean, gosh, can you imagine sweaty? You're driving, if you're driving sporty through, you know, Tokyo drifting in this thing, can't really drift, it's front wheel drive, but you guys know what I mean. And that Alcantara gets sweaty, that just sounds gross to me. Make it leather, Nissan. So we know this only has the 147 horsepower variant, but it should be just fine for Japan. I'll give you my thoughts here more in a little bit. However, they're introducing the e-pedal. The e-pedal was first introduced, to my knowledge, in the new Ariya, and it is very aggressive engine braking, or I should say motor regenerative brakes for these EVs. They made the steering tighter, changing the ratio from 18.3 to 1 in the 2018 model to 14.9 to 1. They say it's the same as the Fairlady Z, but it's also the same, from what I've heard, to the European spec Leafs, because they drive more aggressively there. They drive faster on the autobahns and those Leafs, 93 miles an hour. They made some electronic adjustments to make it handle better in the corners, and then they made some physical adjustments as well to make it handle as well. So the front spring rigidity has been increased 14% and the rear has been increased by 25%. The damping force of the front wheel shock absorber barrel is increased by 10% and the rear increased by 10% as well. And they replaced some rubber with polyurethane. Supposedly that helps with body roll. And that's about it for the 2020 model Nissan Leaf Nismo. And what do I think about it? Well, I think it would be good for Japan. Obviously, they make it for Japan. They know it'll sell well there. There's a reason why they don't sell it here in the States or in Europe, because Nismo, when we hear Nismo, I want lots and lots of power, lots of performance. I mean, that is their freaking BMW M line, or their, I almost said Lexus F line, but that, don't even get me started on the Lexus right now, guys. It's Nissan today. But the Nismo is like, it's way more well known than even like Toyota's GR offering. Gosh, why don't they just stick with TRD Toyota? Gosh, but back to Nissan. So what do I think about this? And when could we expect maybe a Nismo Leaf here in the States? Well, the Nismo Leaf in this form, as we know, with like 147 horsepower, would never come here in the United States. If it did, it would be a joke. Straight joke, people would make fun of it. They already do. They can make this thing, there's no doubt about it. So they would have to introduce the E-Force all-wheel drive system that was just introduced with the Aria. Actually, we saw it at CES earlier this year. It feels like 5 years ago because COVID has made 2020 feel like a decade in itself. But this E-Force is Nissan's all-wheel drive system for their EVs, and it is really good from what I'm reading and hearing. But they introduced it earlier this year at CES, I believe, in Las Vegas, where they had a souped-up Nissan Leaf, and this thing had around 300 horsepower, and they said 500 pound-feet of torque. I mean, that's no joke. That could easily, and that was of course dual motor, two motors, dual motor, all-wheel drive, and the people who got a chance to drive in it were very, very impressed. So that's a good start. Let's use something that we know is going to exist, which is a Nissan Aria, which will be out next year. They have a larger electric motor in that, a 214 horsepower front motor, but they would just need to put that in the rear of the Nismo Leaf. So you have 214 in the back, and then we have the 147 horsepower motor that we see in the regular 2020 Nissan Nismo Leaf. That's a tongue twister, guys. So you add the 214 plus the 147, which is in the current Leaf, and you get 361 horsepower, but more impressive, a 486 pound-feet of torque, because 0 to 60 would be my guess 4 seconds, possibly faster. When could we see something like that? Well, 2024 at the earliest. This current generation Leaf came out in 2017 as a 2018 model year, so you add 6 years on top of that, and my guess is 2024. It might be later than that before we see a Nismo version of it. But I'm holding out hope, guys. And since we're on the topic of performance Nissans, we gotta talk about the upcoming 400Z, because there's a new rumor potentially about electrification on the 400Z, so let's hop on over. At CarBuzz, new Nissan 400Z won't have hybrid option. However, maybe after a refresh or maybe the next generation. So we know the current, it's not even out yet. We know the upcoming 400Z, or at least if they plan to call it that, it's more than likely, like 95% sure, to have the 3.0 twin turbo from like Skyline, or stateside the Q50 Red Sport, the Q60 Red Sport, 400 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. So that is almost a shoe-in for this upcoming Nissan Leaf, but we got some electrification stuff. Ivan Espinosa, Nissan's Vice President of Global Product Strategy, is open to the idea of an electrified Z car. He says, "What I can tell you is I see space for two different things," referring to the continued use of conventional power, that twin-turbo V6, in the short term, and electrification further down the line. "The technology of electric cars is very well advanced, but it's not the level you can deliver the performance expected in a sports car. I mean, Tesla would beg to differ, right? Espinosa cited continuing challenges with the weight of batteries on a sports car's performance. It's also said that a hybrid Z car will likely precede a fully electric version. I don't know about that because you got to look at what's coming for Nissan hybrids. They call it e-Power. It is a pretty exciting technology where they use a gasoline engine as the power generator for the system. It feeds a battery and the battery feeds the electric motors. That is what we see in the Nissan Kicks e-Power that just debuted in Thailand, and I believe it's going to be available in Japan as well, probably China. I think Nissan's pretty big in China too, so we'll see it there. Who knows when we'll see e-Power come here stateside. I don't think it would be in the Z car. I think that would be, no, I just don't see it happening. What about a mild hybrid? I see that as a more realistic thing, like a 48 volt mild hybrid, maybe so that it can be sold in places like Europe. So that is a potentiality. But I see them having the 400Z as a fully twin turbo V6, maybe two different powertrains that I've talked about, the 300 horsepower and then a 400 horsepower to compete with turbo 4-cylinder and the turbo 3-cylinder Supra out there. But I could see them offering a fully electric, totally skipping e-Power, maybe a 48 volt hybrid like I said, but totally skipping e-Power and then going fully electric. How would they do that? Well, I think for it to be a Z still, it would have to have a rear-wheel drive setup. I mean, all-wheel drive would be easy for them to do, but I don't know if they would do that initially. I think they would save that sort of performance for the Nismo Leaf, or of course the GTR. The next GTR could very, very, very well be a freaking Tesla Roadster competitor. Maybe not quite as fast, but man, it would probably do work on it on the racetrack, as we know the GTR is very, very, I mean, that thing's insane. Godzilla's insane. But they would have to develop a really, really fat electric motor for rear-wheel drive only Nissan 400ZE or whatever they plan on calling it. ZE, maybe they'll do that. 400ZE, maybe they call it like a 400, 500ZE. I don't know. But let's not get too crazy with the numbers. I like 400ZE for full electric. Maybe you put a 400 horsepower electric motor in the back, and yeah, lots of heavy batteries to keep the weight distribution down. That would bring a lot of excitement, and that's something that I hope Mazda does with the MX-5 one day. But I don't need to talk about them, guys. You guys know it's a Japanese channel. I jump from brand to brand just because I get excited. So what do you think? Nismo Leaf coming to America? What do you think about that? I think there would be a market for it if they do it right. They make it look like the freaking RC version. That would be ridiculous. And then an electrified 400ZE, sign me up. That would be a hoot to drive. Frickin' donuts for days, roasting tires in a car like that. So Nissan is in a good place in terms of electrification compared to the other Japanese automakers. I would say Toyota is in a really good place overall with their hybrids. They just need to get that battery supply shored up, right? Honda's in a tough place with their electrification right now. Therefore Acura, which Acura is such a small part of Honda. Mazda's in a tough place with their hybrids. Do they even have a hybrid Mazda right now? I don't even know. So electrified, and I'm probably forgetting a couple brands in there, but electrified Japanese cars, Nissan is definitely taking the lead for fully battery electric. Toyota taking the mass market approach with hybrids, and then the rest of them kind of falling behind. So exciting times in the next 5 years, whether it's from Nissan and their Nismo or all their electrified e-Force products as well, and the Aria, of course. But it'll be interesting to see which ones adapt more quickly. I didn't even mention Subaru. Of course, they have the ET-NGA that they're sharing with Toyota, so they're going to be fine. Exciting times, guys. Exciting times. Nismo's electrification. I'll see you guys in the comments as always. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.